Everyone, my name is Dave, and welcome to Extra Credit, a video series where we take an unscripted look at topics related to local history and exploring that history. Alright, so as we normally do at the start of every episode, just a quick reminder to visit my website. You'll find a link in the description. There you're going to find all kinds of content related to the topics we take a look at in this video series and then some, including a section for Extra Credit. So there you're going to find all of our episodes from the past, and including some heads up on future episodes. So if you're new to the video series and you have not seen an episode, or you are a regular in the series and you want to go back and take a look at something, you'll find all of that information there. Additionally, you can follow me on social media, so you'll find me on Facebook, and you'll also find me on Instagram. And last but not least, if you haven't already done so, please make sure that you subscribe to the channel, turn on the notifications, and you're going to get all of the content just as soon as we can. Typically, there is a delay from when things are posted on social media, when they're posted on the YouTube channel to when they go on social media. Sometimes it could take months for something to end up on social media, right? Because depending on what we're doing, depending on how many videos we're posting, there can be a considerable delay. So if you subscribe to the channel, you turn on the notifications, you're going to get that content just as soon as possible. All right. So you'll notice several things that are kind of out of the ordinary. So first of all, I do have my glasses on because it's been a very, very long day, which I'll explain momentarily. You'll also notice that we're in a very different location. So we are in the airport in Toronto. So we're in Pearson International Airport, and we're on our way to Europe. It's been a very long day. We left Thunder Bay at 5 a.m. I was up at just after 1:30 in the morning, basically to get ready and then get myself to the airport. When we arrived here in Toronto, which was just before 7 a.m., we had a little bit of time to sort of collect ourselves. And then because we have such a long layover here, basically our flight to Europe does not depart until 8:45. Basically, the tour company EF arranged for us to basically get out of the airport a little bit. So we had a bus pick us up. We kind of did a little bit of a tour of Toronto, stopped at a few places. We stopped at the St. Lawrence Market for lunch, and now we're back here at the airport. Our flight, again, does not leave for a considerable amount of time. So basically, we are just sort of hanging out here. In terms of the trip, we are doing another trip to Europe, and so this is another in our Touching History series. So this time we're actually traveling back to Northern Europe, and so we are going to be departing for Amsterdam, and we are going to be spending several days in Amsterdam. We are going to be visiting places like Anne Frank House. We're going to be doing a tour of the canals. We're going to see a good chunk of the city. And then after that, we are going to make our way to the south, and we're going to be traveling through Belgium, and we're going to be stopping at a cemetery. So we're going to be stopping at the Bergen op Zoom cemetery and then visiting the Scheldt. Then our hotel is in Arras in northern France, and then from there we're going to be visiting Ypres in Belgium. We're going to be spending the whole day there, so we're going to be visiting the Passchedaele Museum, Tynecott Cemetery, in Flanders Fields Museum, and we're going to be taking in the last post ceremony at the Menin Gate. Then from there, we are going to visit Vimy Ridge and Beaumont Hamel, and then we're going to travel to the Normandy region. In the Normandy region, we are going to be visiting the Bretteville-sur-Lez Canadian Cemetery, the Benny-sur-Mer Canadian Cemetery. We're going to be visiting some of the landing beaches in Normandy, and specifically on Juno Beach, so some of the different parts of Juno Beach, the Juno Beach Center. And then we're going to be traveling to Paris, and we're going to be spending several days in Paris. We're going to see Paris, some of the different sites of Paris. We're going to be going to visit Versailles. We're going to be doing a boat tour on the Seine. So this is kind of the little introduction to this video. And for me, I've been to a lot of these places before, and so I almost did this exact same tour back in 2014. Slight little difference. This one here, we're going to be visiting the Scheldt, which I've never seen before. The previous tour that we did in 2014, we went to Dieppe. So other than that, it's almost exactly identical with regard to the places that we're going to see and the places that we're going to visit. So what I'm going to do is basically I'm going to let you see some of those places, right? I'm not going to do too much of an introduction here. I'm going to give you an opportunity to take in all of those sites, and then we will do a debrief once the tour is over.
And prostitutes. Definitely come here, but bring a lot of cash.
And would recommend
Bring cash.
bring lots of cash. Visiting, bring money for shopping.
Bro, it's crap. All right, so we have the main cathedral here in Antwerp. Just absolutely beautiful. Don't know any of the history of it, but it is just an amazing building. One of the fantastic things about places like this, just the architecture and the history. So this is a square here, or a big square in Antwerp. Out here you can see beautiful old buildings. Maybe we can hear the cathedral bells ringing soon. Beautiful building here. Maybe this is City Hall. 1564. And there's the cathedral. You can see the wood revetting on the sides. You can see the firing step. You can see the loopholes here. You get the barbed wire stakes. Ooh, they even have a trench periscope. It's all fogged up. Can't see much in there. The duck boards at the bottom. It does a really good job of showing you the, what's this, mortar post?
Yeah. I think this is German lines.
Yeah, this is German lines. So this would have been a trench mortar position. See how they've built it with the branches all interlaced.
They shall not grow old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Okay, so we've arrived here at the Canadian National Vimy Memorial. And so this is the monument up on one of the highest points of the ridge here. When we get there, you're going to look out over the Douai Plain towards Lens. Most of the battlefield is preserved. You can see that there are fences here because in that area are unexploded ordnance. So all kinds of potential hazardous devices. You can see it's still full of shell craters and everything. So that's why they did it in that manner. They left everything the way that it was. Just an absolutely gorgeous memorial. The two twin pillars representing Canada and France. The monument was designed by Walter Allward. All right, so we're out on top of the memorial here. You can, it's a beautiful view here. You can see there's some fog over the Douai Plain. So guys, that statue there is the heart of the monument. That is representing, that's called Mother Canada. It's supposed to be representing the people of Canada weeping for its fallen sons, and it's facing east towards the rising sun. All right, so we're about to enter the Grange subway system here at Vimy Ridge. This would have been right behind the front line trench. Here you can see one of the communication trenches that would have run to the front line trenches, which are just up there. So the tunnels were widened. They were much narrower during the war and obviously much darker. There was only, as they mentioned, only a light every 20 meters and much lower wattage bulbs.
We want to have space for everyone on here.
So here are the frontline Canadian trenches here at Vimy. They're officially classified as observation trenches. You can see how they preserve the trenches with the use of sandbags filled with cement. So we are very close to the front line here, to no man's land. So this would have been a sap here, so a trench heading up to closer to the front line. So you can see that there's two sections to the sap here. You can see there's a loophole.
The German trenches are just over there, just in front of the trees. Watch your footing here. These little information boards are new from the last time I was there. They're here in 2019. So this is yet another sap here. You see there's two parts to it. So again, the German trenches are just over there, right where you can see our sister group from St. Ignatius.
So I'm going to jump in here right now because I just want to add a little context to this. So I actually did two little guiding sections on the trip. One was intentional and one was unintentional. So the clip that you're going to see right now at Beaumont Hamel, I was not supposed to be the tour guide for this particular portion. What ended up happening is when we arrived there, there's only a certain limited amount of tour guides, and they're on a first come, first serve basis. And so there was none available. And so I got nominated by the group to essentially take everybody on the tour of the battlefield. And it was a little interesting because I know a bit about the Battle of Beaumont Hamel, but there was a lot of kind of doing things on the fly. The second clip, where you're going to see a little bit later when we're in Normandy, Juno Beach, that was intentional. I do know considerably more about what happened on D-Day. And so I basically volunteered to act as sort of a tour guide and take everybody around sort of the beaches.
How you doing, Norm?
I'm okay. Managing. Okay, squish in, guys, squish in so everybody can hear. Scrunch. Caught up here. All right, so what you're looking at right here, so the trench part that we came through was most likely part of a communication trench, right? Remember, those are the narrower trenches that link the lines of trenches. Right here is the front line trench, right? So stretching off in that direction, and then you can see it going off in this direction. You'll notice again the zigzag nature of the trenches, again, for several reasons. Obviously, if there was an issue with artillery fire, right? So basically having the zigzags, if an artillery shell hit one section of the trench, then basically the blast would not be channeled straight down the line of the trench. You would basically have these corners to act as buffers. Also, if the enemy got into your trench, you would basically be able to defend each section of the trench. You would have what's called suicide corners, right? And so the enemy would basically have to fight from corner to corner and make it a lot more difficult for them to capture the trench. You will notice some of the metal here, and essentially that was used as sort of revetting. And you saw what they used, what they did in Passchedaele yesterday, right? So you saw the wood, that was more typical. But again, this was all designed to basically keep the trench walls from collapsing in. So they used a combination of metal, wood, whatever materials they could to keep the to keep the trenches as preserved as possible. Okay, so now basically you can imagine July the 1st, right? The troops are in the trenches, okay, getting lined up. Now the problem with the Newfoundland Regiment was that they were in the second wave. So the attack began in other areas, okay, with attacks by other groups of troops. So the Newfoundlanders were supposed to go over in the second wave. So you can imagine the Germans are already alerted, okay, that the attack is going through. So now when the Newfoundlanders have to go, the Germans are already waiting for them. So they're leaving these trenches. You're going to see the German trenches are just over there, right by that tree line there. That's how far they have to go. It's not a far distance. Okay, so essentially the perimeter of the battlefield is where they need to go to get to the German trenches, right? So they're not advancing kilometers. It is a very short distance. Our way from here, we're going to work our way down to the next community, which is Saint-Aubin-sur-Mer. What I'm going to do is going to give you a quick little sort of spiel about what's going on here, okay, and some of the sites, and you'll have about 10 minutes or so to look around. The tide is very high, Okay, normally it would be way further out from there. And so unfortunately you can't see as much of the beach as you normally would. So obviously we're here at Juno Beach. As I mentioned on the bus, Juno Beach is actually quite large. Okay, so it basically stretches from Grey-sur-Mer, which is down there, all the way to Saint-Aubin-sur-Mer. So quick little sort of background to this. Many of you guys know that there were 5 landing beaches here in Normandy. So you had Utah Beach, Omaha Beach, which were the American beaches. Then you had Gold, Juno, and Sword. Now a little interesting piece of trivia. The Juno Beach actually had a different name. So when they were doing the beaches, the British decided that their beaches, you could probably figure out the American beaches, Utah, named after the state, Omaha, named after Omaha, Nebraska. The British beaches were supposed to be named after fishes. Goldfish, swordfish, jellyfish. And at some point they decided, well, we're not going to use the full name, we're going to shorten them. So we're going to call them Gold, Sword, and Jelly. And then I guess somebody went, that doesn't sound particularly awesome. Maybe we should fix that. And so the name was changed to Juno. And there's a whole bunch of stories as to why they picked Juno. In any case, Juno Beach itself is actually divided into 2 parts. There's 2 assault sectors, as they call them, and each beach had them. So where Juno Beach Center is over there to the west is Mike Sector. This is Nan Sector, and then each sector was further divided up into chunks. So at the western end you had Mike Green, Mike Red, Nan Green, Nan White, Nan Red, okay? And so each beach was basically designated for certain units to land at. Sorry, just let me pull this up real quick so I make sure I know what I'm talking about here, okay? So over on the far end at Mike Green, so which was the western end, okay, it was going to be assaulted by troops from the Royal Winnipeg Rifles with support from the Canadian Scottish from Victoria, okay, and they would be further supported by tanks from the 1st Hussars, who are from London, Ontario. Then at Mike Red would be the Winnipeg Rifles, which again, with support from the 1st Hussars. Then just over here, just to the west of us here, would be Nan Green. That would be the Regina Rifles with support from the 1st Hussars. And then here at Nan White would be the Queen's Own Rifles from Toronto with support from the Fort Garry Horse from Winnipeg. And then Saint-Aubin, where we're going, is going to be the North Shore Regiment from New Brunswick, once again with support from the Fort Garry Horse. So again, we are on Nan White. The building that you see behind you, this is known as Canada House. This was the first building, the first structure captured by any Allied unit on D-Day, okay? And so it is forever commemorated as Canada House. You will see all kinds of things in the front alluding to the Queen's Own Rifles of Canada. So what we're going to do right now is I'm going to give you a few minutes, 10 minutes or so to look around, go on the beach. I know some of you are anxious to wander on the beach. We are going to meet in 10 minutes.
All right, so we're here at the WS-27 Strong Point. So you can see that the 50mm anti-tank gun is still in place. So the casemate here was very ideally situated to cover all the avenues of approach. So it could basically cover the street coming here into Saint-Aubin from the west. It could cover this street coming in from the south. It could cover this street coming in from the east, and as well fire alongside the beach. You can see what appears to be a little position down here. I don't know if this is a machine gun position. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to scooch our way inside here without killing ourselves. And so you can see the anti-tank gun here, and you can see its fields of fire. And according to the plaque that is here, this gun took out 3 Canadian tanks before the position itself was silenced.
All right, so here we have yet another German bunker here. We are very close to XLIII. So I think just on the other side of the little, where the river comes out, is where the Regina rifles would have landed. You can see the design of the bunker. You can see how the aperture is set to fire sideways or enfilade the beach. You can see the protected entrance here. Again, the bunker has tipped over time, and you can actually squeeze your way in. So the entrance here, and you can see how the firing position, so you would add a gun that would have been able to fire, turn in both directions. So taking a look here at the back. Ports of Calvados. And you can see the other entrance on this side. You can see the eastern side of the firing opening. Is there something over here? Here you can see all this area here. This is XLIII, so this is where the Regina rifles would have landed. Down over there you can see Benriere, and then further down Saint-Aubin. Again, this would have been Mike Red.
He's that guy on Florida State.
Yeah. All right, so here's the outside of Notre Dame Cathedral. Unfortunately, the line is gigantic to get in, so we are not going to go in. Obviously, with the oh my God, do you see the queue, Mike? Do you see the turnstiles here? Look, those are all people trying to get in. I don't know if we can get out. We have to go around probably.
Yeah.
So here is the outside of the cathedral, and we'll try to get some shots from the sides. Reconstruction work that's underway. Right here, Mike. We're gonna head over to our meeting point over here, which is the statue of Charlemagne. Get a nice shot of the river here.
Come on.
And so here is Charles the Great, Charlemagne, en français, the great Frankish king. So,
How long did it take to build this?
I'd have to look it up.
Oh, that's Richard.
All right, so we've arrived at the Palace of Versailles, the home of the French kings, built by Louis XIV. Just an amazing, been here before, once. Just absolutely beautiful and opulent. I say to my history classes, you understand why the French peasants revolted when the king lived like this. So this is the Hall of Mirrors here at Versailles. This is where the Treaty of Versailles in 1919 was signed. Here you can see the backside of the palace, and then the royal gardens. All right, so we've made our way down below the steps here. You can see back up this way here. Sorry, we're kind of shooting into the light. And you can see the statue here that we saw from up top. Just absolutely gorgeous here on the grounds. You can really see the opulence of the area. And here gives you an idea of some of the other ponds, some of the other pools that are here, and the big lake, the big canal. All right, so we've arrived down here at this pond, lake, and then there's a continuation over there. You see the big sculpture up there. All right, so
We've arrived at the most famous landmark in Paris. We are making our way over here so we can grab some photographs. Let's zoom out a bit so we can get it into frame. The kids are very excited to take some photos of the Eiffel Tower. Oh, you had to put a nice shirt on for the Eiffel Tower?
There are also many embassies and private residences here.
A estribor, el barrio Chaillot alberga actualmente el Museo del Hombre, el de la Marina, el de los Monumentos de Francia y el del Cine. La visita comprende también el Teatro de Chaillot, la Explanada de los Derechos del Hombre y los Juegos de Agua.
Il quartiere Chaillot, la collina degli otto musei, l'omonimo palazzo ospita i musei dell'uomo, della marina, dei monumenti francesi e del cinema. Questo quartiere è inoltre sede di numerose ambasciate e di eleganti dimore.
All right, so hopefully you've enjoyed the video. I'm not going to talk too much because it's already a really long video, way longer than we normally make, but there was a lot to sort of pack in there. There was a lot that we did over the course of the relatively 8 days that we were there. Obviously, you have to take the couple of travel dates out of there. But again, it was an awesome time. It was an awesome experience. The kids really kind of enjoyed themselves being out there in Europe and seeing all the great things that we saw, the history, the culture, and just sort of being in a different place. The weather was, for the most part, pretty phenomenal. First couple days in Amsterdam were just unbelievable. They actually broke records for the temperatures. After that, it kind of cooled off a little bit, but we never got rained on, and certainly it turned into a really awesome experience. So in any case, that's it for the video. We will be making one more. I have one more trip left in me before I retire, and so we will be coming back in a couple of years, so in the spring of 2027, and we'll be documenting our trip at that particular time. And we've just sort of, actually this week we just sort of solidified the itinerary for the trip and basically where we're going to be going off to and what we're going to be taking a look at. So I'm kind of really excited for that. There's one place that I've seen before, but we're actually going to some places that I've never seen before. And so that's going to be a really, really interesting experience, different part of Europe. So we're going to be heading off to the central part of Europe. I'm not going to tell you too much about where we're going and what we're going to see. You'll have to wait for that video. I know it's a couple years away, but certainly I'm excited for the trip, and certainly excited for the things that we're going to be taking a look at. So in any case, thanks for tuning in. We'll be back with yet another episode next month. And, there's a ton more things that we have yet to take a look at. Again, there's a lot of videos that we've pre-recorded parts of. We just have to come back and do sort of the dialogue here. You can see we've had kind of some lousy weather last week. We've actually had 2 dumps of snow. So I'm actually in my backyard here at home, which is unusual, but I just didn't really feel like heading out to camp because there's so many things to do around here in terms of cleaning up snow, etc. But in any case, we'll see you next week. Next month. Next week, we'll see you next month with yet another episode, and then we'll be going to continue on throughout the summer. And in the meantime, take care and stay safe.